listening to the Questionnaire.
Say that again.
You're listening to the Questionnaires.
I've just started.
Right here, for your ears, for your eyes.
The Questionnaire.
Get your Comic on.
Poke it out, poke it out, poke it out, poke it out.
Orders up. Yeah. And that order is another quest. Ladies and gentlemen, metahumans and mutants, witches, warlocks. Yeah, all y'all out there. I hope you've been enjoying it. I hope you watched the last episode and, caught one of the men that writes this book here. All right? We'll be bringing on the other here in not too long, that being Tony. And if memory serves me correctly, I ain't looking at the calendar. And there's a lot of co-hosts over here, and we got a lot scheduled. But I might be wrong. I might be right. But I'm pretty sure none other than Scott Wojcik will be co-hosting with Tony Fleece. Correct, man?
You got it.
All right.
Evening, gentlemen.
That's terrible. I had to ask, Scott.
I don't forget. Don't worry.
Well, I don't when the episode's coming close, but Tony's a little. No, actually, Tony's coming pretty soon, isn't he? Look, I know
Tuesday.
2 days before who the co-host is and everything that's coming on before it's, and it's just frankly how it is, man. I am the unknown factor for a reason, right? But today, yeah, we're gonna chat. I think. Wait. Is this the first time I've had a Canadian co-host with a Canadian guest, Scott?
I think it might be.
I think so. I think that it is, man. So that's funny because it's your episode, but y'all can go back and check just a few episodes back where one of the co-hosts for the first time helped interview one of the other co-hosts, that being Dave interviewing Scott. But today, it's Canadian on Canadian action, man. So I guess if you want to, just go ahead and blame Canada, right? Because it's Casey Parsons in the house. How you doing, man?
How's it going? Hello, everyone.
Excellent, man.
Casey.
Thank you for joining the show. And just right off the bat, I got to jump into your questionnaire. I really do. Because Total Recall, what? Hold on. Why? What do you mean by for one of your wishes you want Total Recall? Do you mean just of the memory?
Yeah, I just feel like my memory is kind of a funny thing. So I have very sort of selective memory. And there's times I want to recall something and it's just, it's not there and I want to retrieve it. I mean, it would help art-wise and so many other facets of living. So sometimes I'll remember a full poem I can recite years later, and other times I can't remember, a whole event that happened, strange.
Okay.
Mind.
I just wanted to make sure you weren't. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure you weren't talking about the film.
No, but I thought that it came into my head when I wrote that down, but I left it as is, open-ended.
Yeah. I was like, I'm assuming he means Total Recall of memory. But
if you have to go to Mars to get it,
Mars,
maybe.
Yeah. Figured you were looking for that
space exploration. So
yeah, I just figured you were looking for that trifecta. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I hear what you're saying. You just told me this was a PG show.
Hey, that was Shrek level. I don't want to hear it unless I've seen the film. You wouldn't know what that was, and that's what that is. You can if you're going to do it, you got to do it to that Pixar level. You know what I mean? Because if you can't tell me Pixar don't have things in there, you watch as an adult, and you go, that was funny. It wasn't child appropriate, but no child would catch it, so it's okay. But it was funny. But
I see. Subtle.
You gotta have those, and you can't call me out on them either because then it's way too obvious, Casey. What do you do? Dude, I'm leaving this. I gotta go edit. Scott, take this.
I'm a fan of both films too for different reasons, but yeah. No, but I would just enjoy having that, just that eidetic memory sort of thing. I admire that. I admire minds that can do that. I think it'd be great. For playing music or anything, art-wise, it'd be fantastic. Be so helpful to not have to go and research references and
Oh no,
is that something that you've always dealt with, right from kid-wise?
I think so. I've always struggled with names. It's I always found numbers easier than names. So I used to look at someone's credit card, say, and play this kind of fun joke where I would remember their credit card. I would just glance at it and I could take the numbers in. And 2 weeks later, I would tell them that I knew their credit card, and then they'd be all like, "You better not be buying." I would never do anything, but I just, just to, if I ever caught a glance, just to mess with them, some close friends.
That's funny.
So I was always good with numbers, like, but names was kind of like, what's their name? And then my brain likes, it's constantly, let's say like mixing things together. Like if I see a license plate or something, I'll kind of rearrange it and make words out of it, kind of thing. Like I'll anagram everything and like combine images and ideas. It's where you get the jokes and the art, illustration ideas from. So my brain's doing that all the time. So I can't trust my brain, like the memory. It likes to mix things around and double guess. And like, if I try and recall something, my brain will just be like, nah, I don't, it's this. No, you're wrong about that. It's this, like it does funny things. So I don't trust it. And I like to be an honest guy. And,
I can completely understand and relate to that, because I know look, I'm terrible with names, and like if y'all want to go back and look at past episodes on the show, you could totally verify, like there is public knowledge of that if you want to go through all the past episodes. So I'm bad with it, man. You ever have an issue with that?
And you know them, but it's sometimes it's just in the moment when they ask you, you go blank.
Yeah.
It's like when you're trying to remember it, it won't fire the right neural pathway to it.
Well, especially with the fact of the amount of people that you're working with within the comic book industry, you know what I mean?
You meet thousands of people a year. So that's it. Like, and this is kind of like career number 4. I've met, it's cool. It's great. And, I have hundreds, like just met thousands of people and I'm 47 now. I've met a lot of people. You think of all the schools you've gone to and friends of friends and parties and, everyone you meet at the shows, and usually it's in context as well. So if I see someone at a show, I'll go like, wow, your face is really familiar. I remember their face, but I might not remember their name. I might remember the piece of art they bought and their face, but not the name, but I'll know that I've seen them before. But if I saw them out on the street, probably get nothing. Right. It's like a context association to recall these things.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that, because I've noticed myself. I like only been in a year, and I ran into someone at Niagara Falls or at Northern National in Windsor that was at the CK Expo like 7 months earlier, and I'm like, I recognize the person, I can't place it. And then when they told me, I'm like, oh, that's where I knew you from.
And then you get names like Rob, Ron, it's one of those two.
Yeah.
Names,
Yeah. Or you call them one and they're like, no, it's the other.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so embarrassed. I always try to do that thing. It's like, I know I've met that person before, and I try to get like a friend to introduce themselves that hasn't met them, and then say their name. Like, it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. This is why.
Yeah.
Don't feel bad, man. I've had people walk up to me from my hometown and be like, hey, and just fully know who I am. And I'd be like, or, they'd say the name, hey, we went to such and such school. And I'd be like, I don't know you, and walk off.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
You're mistaken for somebody else.
Yeah. No, they just didn't want to talk to you, Jay.
Sorry.
No, they wanted to talk to me, Scott. I just didn't want to talk to them. Yeah, I did.
Now, the flip side, I mean, it could be a terrible burden, right? To have perfect recall.
That's what I want to get into. Yeah, because you're right, Casey. Like, if you could recall because look, the human brain
and everything too, and
and the human brain. Well, the human brain is wired in such a way that if you experience something so traumatic that it will mess with you the entirety of your life, your brain will block it out. If you had total recall, you wouldn't be capable of that, man. You might, in getting yourself that wish, end up finding out things in your past that your brain didn't, you know what I mean? So that's kind of a scary wish, in all sincerity, Casey.
I mean, when you say it, like, this could be a whole other deep conversation. This would be like a philosophical podcast now, but or psychotherapy or something. But I mean, I think even if it's blocked, like, it still has changed you and affected you, right? Like, you still carry it until like you work through it. So, I mean, I wonder if you were able to recall it, it'd be like facing your dragons all the time. Like, you could choose to recall it and perhaps deal with it, like, you'd be okay with that. It'd be like, yeah, that's one of my memories. Yeah, it's a bad one, but so I don't think about it. Like, you're not focusing on it. You're focusing on the things you want to focus on. So, like, I want to draw bicycle right now, and you could just recall all the bikes you've seen in your life, and like, yeah, this BMX would be cool, which I can kind of like. It's weird, like as an art, like you do have like kind of a visual memory bank in a way, and there's like ways of retrieving stuff, and you kind of fill in the gaps as you draw. So like I feel like I have a bit of that, but I used to be able to do that when I was young, like 12. Like I saw like a battleship, and I would like went home and drew that thing, like all the bits. Like same as the first time I saw a Lamborghini, I got to sit inside. I was 9 years old, and I went home and I drew like all the pieces of that Lamborghini, from memory. Like it was a really strong image in my head in 3-dimensional, so I could just like, see it very strongly in the mind's eye sort of thing.
I think that has to do with the fact, though, that the younger you are, the less you have in your brain to begin with. So,
sure.
Yeah. So the older you get, the more things you're trying to retain, the less
you're
you can.
accumulating more. It's more to sift through. It's a bigger garbage heap in there, for sure. And if you don't have it organized, which mine, if you can see my studio at all, like I know you're looking at up, but I mean, yeah, it's organized chaos for sure. But I like it that way.
Yeah, I'm the same way. Yeah. Everything over this way is a total disaster.
Like I could give you a little sneak peek at like, here's like a pile of things, I know where everything is. Absolutely every little.
And that's the funny part. I'm the exact same way.
I totally don't feel so bad about this big old mess over here now.
We're really gonna get into some deep sharing. I can feel
like it's a bit of a mess over here at the questionnaire, but that's because I'm also like, where sometimes you need a mess to be able to get through things properly, I think. And I think that has a lot to do with the fact
it's a mess. Like all those papers.
Yeah.
Those are all my stories in order.
This is good. This is the dirt that people want to see.
Yeah.
This is like everyone wants to show, on social media, just the flash and the happy moments and the well-lit stuff. I want to see the pimples and I want to see the people's mess.
How about the blown up ears?
Reality.
We just want to get into.
Yeah, there you go. There's life. There's reality. Yeah, this happens. So you're still getting on with your day. Yeah, and that looks like a traumatic experience that you don't want to recall all the time.
Yeah, man. I don't like. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I don't know, man. I don't. But it would also. I could understand.
I hope you're okay. I hope you're okay.
Yeah. Oh, and I'm fine, man. I understand. I know how that total recall would be helpful because of someone that makes music, man, or just even in doing this show, like, dude, I can't think of how many lyrics I've just lost. Or if I had total recall, how I would be able to go through every one of these episodes and be like, okay, this time, and this time, there are excellent TikToks that I can just edit, as opposed to having to go through the entirety of the show to find those TikToks again, because, we do a lot over here at the questionnaire, and I can't.
You could make it selective total recall. I mean, you could just be for the creative and social side of life and not you could suppress the bad stuff if you wanted to, or delete that from memory. Let's say, we could tweet. This is all a wish.
See, I want that. I want that bad stuff because me being a writer, I can use it because I find a lot of stories.
I'll keep it to, and it makes you who you are. I mean,
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I just don't know if
people have gone through terrible stuff. It usually makes them like some of the strongest and most wonderful people I know are people that have been through some terrible things and have risen above it.
Yeah.
Not saying people need to go through that to be good or whatever. I don't mean that. I don't wish anyone to go through stuff, but this questionnaire was tough. Yeah, I had trouble picking favorites, making choices and things.
It's really funny. It's funny that you say that, Casey, because I made the questionnaire and I'd had several people say that, and I was like, "What are they talking about? This doesn't look that difficult to me." And then Vlad was like, "Hey, dude, you got to take the questionnaire, and you're going to come on the show, and I'm going to interview you." And I was like, "I never said I'd fill out. I said I'd never fill out this questionnaire, but Vlad asked me. I got a lot of love for Vlad, and he's one of the rotating co-hosts over here at the show. You can catch him on the episode right before Scott's with John Holland, but." I was like, fine. I was like, fine, man, I'll do it, right? And in the process of doing it, I was like, oh, I see why everyone says this was hard now, because it's really kind of pick your favorite film. I'm like, I got like a lot of those.
Yeah,
You
that's the
won?
thing, right?
Ah, crap. So yeah,
I feel like it's limiting in a sense. If you like, you can kind of pigeonhole yourself into one thing, and then you might miss out on other things. Like you're not going to watch that same movie day in, day out, and no other movies. And like sometimes I have like a favorite of the week or the month or the day or the mood you're in or what's speaking to you right now. Like you go back to your favorite comics or books or whatever or artists. Yeah, it's tough. I find it tough. It's like, can you pick a favorite child or something? You probably do, but it's
that's it.
maybe you miss out on things for the other
I'm
ones.
adding an extra question in the questionnaire. If you're a parent, who's your favorite child? Just make it one touch more difficult, right? Why not? And for everybody out there watching, just so you know, if you go to the Patreon over at which there's a link to the link tree in the description, you can click and you can get right to the Patreon. You can check out all the pre-show questionnaires from all of these episodes because we're definitely not getting into everything that I have these individuals fill out. We only cover some of it because I don't want to make a 3-hour long show that I have to edit. Scott,
I'm guessing there's a lot of questions you want to ask that aren't on the list.
And that's definitely true, man. It's more honestly used to spice up the flavor. Now, on a note of spicing up the flavor, Scott, I just asked you to ask a question. So you ask one because I was about to go in to write something else, man.
Well, actually, it leads back to when you were talking about drawing that Lamborghini. When did you kind of know that this was what you wanted to do, that you wanted to be an artist?
It's funny. It goes back. I was probably about 2.5 to 3 years old, like that far back. And I knew it was just like, I even had thoughts. I remember I had thoughts of, when I'm old, what can I still keep doing? Like what? And I had this weird, even as a child, I had this image of a drawing of a tree in my head, a very realistic drawing of a tree. I don't know where it came from. And it was just this idea in my head. One day I'll be able to do that, maybe I have to look at it. Maybe I can do it out of my head when I learn enough, but I'll just be like this good where I can draw, I can capture, reality sort of thing on paper and do this sort of magical thing. But I knew, my mom would tell you too, like in the car, like I used to see the street lights going back on the road in distance. And I have a pad and a pencil in the car with me too. And I'd be drawing the street lights going back in perspective. It's like, why they're smaller, the farther away, and figuring that out when I was like 3, like that kind of stuff. But I always drew like that was one of the best things my parents just left. There's always pencils and blank paper just sitting around.
That's crazy to think, though, when you were 3 years old, you were already thinking about perspective to that level.
Yeah. And I'm terrible at it now, but I mean,
I don't know. It looks pretty damn good.
There was an intuitive curiosity there. Did I figure it all out? No. I mean, like, but I didn't really realize, I think, until say probably in kindergarten, but I can't recall much in kindergarten. I know I did there was like a space shuttle contest, like something that I entered, and I think I won and never got the art back. So I don't even know what it looks like now, but I won some contest in kindergarten. And then grade 1, I could really tell, like I had a good grade 1 teacher, Mrs. French. But she used to put my work up on the back of the wall, and it'd be hanging up to other people's work in the class and be like, oh, mine's really different. Like there's stuff going on there that people are not putting in their picture. Like you can tell mine's a person, they're almost proportionate, and the dog and all the features on the dog, and they're doing these kind of circles and stickmen kind of things. And, I could see like I was doing something else, and then they had me tested in grade 2 as well. But, yeah.
So what do you think going forward in that, man? Because obviously from what you've said, art was always a part of your life, and you ended up at the Jack Kirby School for Art, which I'd say comic book wise is probably the highest school you can go to. I'm not going to say that it is because I don't know, because I've never looked into art schools as far as that, because I don't draw.
I don't know what it's like. Yeah.
I don't draw, so I don't know if it is like the most prestigious.
Is it like based on the Marvel method, or?
No. I'm just saying. So no, I'm curious as what was the process of you going and learning this and drawing, and then finally deciding that this is the school I want to go to. This is what I want to pursue as far as pursuing comics, as opposed to taking it some other way. Because art, man, there's 50,000 avenues there.
I've been through a lot of different sort of scenarios that way. So when I was young, it was hard. We didn't have, I grew up with the internet wasn't around yet, nothing like that. Like you had the libraries, the end, if you had books in the house. I didn't have a lot of comics. There weren't like art books around. I was seeing like my parents had like Robert Bateman books, right? And I'd see his stuff. My mom was a fan, there's a couple prints in the house. And then too much else, like unless I went to the library and like looking at book covers and illustrations, and old, looking at Beatrice Potter and things like that. But and my sister was older than me by about 4 years, and she was drawing, like copying the Robert Bateman stuff when we were kids too. And then I started doing that and kind of got me into that, like looking at art and copying it. That was about the Robert Bateman stuff. But anyhow, so when I grew up, like no internet stuff, it was hard to find teachers, mentors, schools, like places to go and things like that. It just wasn't around. My mom tried, and it just couldn't find much. I did eventually get a mentor. My first Albert Casson, not the Group of Seven painter, but another wonderful illustrator who's still around. He moved down to California, but I had private instruction with this guy. And that was like my first experience doing like life drawing and things like that. Cause I was a kid and I was like, I'm serious about this stuff. I want to know, what the adults are doing. I want to like, don't give me the kid classes. I want the real stuff. I'm ready to learn. And I would actually meet Bateman. As a kid, I'd bring my drawings to him and he'd be like, yeah, you can draw. You're ready to start painting. And I try painting, get frustrated. And then teenage years happen. And it's like, I don't want to learn. I don't want anyone to teach me anything. It's like, I'll figure it out. I don't want anyone influencing me or giving me bad ideas or whatever. And like, I didn't listen to anything else or I was just art focused and that was it. And, I would get through my school. I would get like, 75s and whatever in other classes. And, I had fun in English and things like that. But, I didn't focus on them. Like art was so focused on that. I started making comics in high school and things like that. And I was kind of left alone. And in some ways it was great. And in other ways I may have missed out. I don't know. But you're absorbing so much and you're changing so quickly. The more you see it, like you're just like a sponge, right? When you're young. And then eventually I found out Sheridan College up here in Canada and Ontario, like it's in Oakville, Ontario. And it was like the place to go. It was like the art school. Like people from all over the world are going there. They're famous for their animation classes where Disney comes up and grabs like everybody. But they have a really good illustration program up there. And at the time it was 3 years. And it was like, okay, so like I know I like comics, illustration. And I was doing some illustration work in high school too. Like I was being paid. So I went to Sheridan. And my idea was I'm going to learn sort of all the drawing and fine art skills, like learn how to draw and paint properly, and then bring that into comics. So I don't want to learn just from comics. I'm going to get proper training now. I'm ready. I'm going to take it in, learn it, and then, apply it. And you had to, you meet certain people and it's like, you got to rewire your whole brain, like get all the bad habits out of you. Like you're like starting from scratch every day. Yeah. And it would feel that way anyways. It'd feel like I ended up following a couple of really wonderful teachers that taught me so much. The one guy, John Miecznikowski, he was there for object drawing for the 1 year. Stop me if I'm going on too long, so I'll talk about this forever. But
no, I was just I was curious, like along that pathway, did you have like hiccups that kind of strengthened you as an artist?
Of course. Yeah. But but I was kind of like fearless that way when I was younger. I mean, like I didn't think anything of it. It was just like, I'll do it better the next time. Like it's like you almost thrive on that stuff. It's like, I can't quite draw this the way it's not coming out the way I want. I'll do it again. I never thought like it never got to where it was like, I can't do that. It's going to stop me. I always thought I can draw anything. And like, if I can't do it now, I'm going to do it tomorrow. I had that kind of in me, like just nonstop, like a fire that would just go.
I think that's good, man. I don't think there's any creator anywhere that doesn't have some kind of fire under them that drives them creatively. You know what I mean? But I do think it's a good thing to to be aware that, okay, I need to just like release this. I know, like, because if you keep something back and keep trying to perfect it again and again and again and again and again, you're never going to put anything out. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So I think you also have to be aware of that.
And I tell like people starting out will come up to the tables. I say that exact thing. Like, you'll never quite feel fully ready. Just jump in. And like, I got to take my own advice.
Yep.
I find it much easier now to get discouraged. You know, I think social media is kind of one of those things too. You scroll through Instagram, you're seeing this amazing art going on. Like, there's so many incredible people out there. And you can either be inspired by it or it can discourage you. You can feel like, well, what am I doing? I can't compete with this. I'm going to give up. You know, it's very easy to kind of go down that road. When I was young, I didn't have that sense. Like, I didn't have that sense. I wasn't worried about it. It was kind of like nothing on the line in a way. It was like, I knew I was still young and just starting. So I guess like it was just a fearlessness about it. I was like, I'm only doing this for me anyways. I'm just learning and growing. So it doesn't matter. Like, no one has to see this thing I screwed up on. I'm just filling sketchbooks and with whatever, you know, and I could see improvement happening. So I knew like things were okay. Like, I was going to keep getting better.
With what you just said, I'm curious, Casey, do you think the invention of social media and the internet at least has in some way probably denied us some great creatives because they seen what was online, had that thought, and just walked away from it and went to their 9 to 5?
It's a good question. I feel probably likely. Yeah. I mean, you gotta kind of wonder, like, where are your Mozarts and Rembrandts and things, right? Too, like just like the nature of the world, the way it is, and how it's set up. Because I think a lot of those guys are probably doing like maybe like computer programming or something too. But as far as like, yeah, I don't know. If I were young, like maybe I would have been. I don't know if I would have been discouraged or inspired. Like, if I would have seen more. I think it all comes down to your mindset, your perspective. Like I say, like, you can either take it as something inspirational or you can be discouraged. So like, I have friends doing amazing things. Like, I sit at the cons and like the people next to me are just doing like, you're like, how are you doing that? You know, like, I know guys who draw like crazy stuff, like zero reference. And they have no trouble like doing anatomy from any angle or like any of those intricate costumes and stuff. And they just draw like, it's unreal what they do.
I just got to say, is that one of them?
Is that Mr. Ruth behind you? Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I know he uses some reference, but not for Swamp. Like, that would be like out of his head in a couple hours, I would think.
Oh, well, that for the most part was drawn live on the show.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it probably took in. I mean, he added some stuff after the show. It's just a little bit as far as like the backing here, but no, for the most part, he did that in like an hour and a half, and it was amazing.
I've been drawing.
Huh?
I wasn't supposed to be drawing.
That. Hey, look, Casey, we could bring you back for a PanCon at a later point in time. We can bring you back for the sketching ones. You can check those all out over on the Patreon as well. But that's where we bring a group of individuals to either draw or just chat some particular topic, man. So
I like this. I feel like we're getting deep. Yeah, I like just focusing on the chat.
You know, it's funny that you bring up that both of you brought up that whole thing with, you know, with social media and that.
Mm-hmm.
Mine wasn't so much social media, but when I first started writing 20 years ago, I was just out of high school. I didn't really know what I was doing with my life, so I started writing. I would sit in my car and sit at Tim Hortons for hours writing, and came up with this idea. And no lie, like 2 months later, Avatar comes out, and I'm looking at the trailer, and I'm like, this is almost very similar, reminiscent of what I just wrote. And I'm like, well, F him. I got rid of it and threw it over to the side, and I was pissed off, right? I was one of the only people that never went and saw Avatar in the theater. Even though it made $2.8 billion. It wasn't until years later that I'm like, well, wait a minute. I wrote something that's reminiscent of that show, that movie. And if I can write that, that means I can write the other stuff. And that's
Sure.
how I took it. It took me years to come up with that and really think about that. But, I think that's the other thing, right? Is you need people to kind of guide you and be like, no, you need to keep doing what you're doing if you did that.
Right. I don't
think
think that's too unusual too.
Go ahead, Casey.
Sorry, yeah, I was just going to say it's not too unusual. I think people coming up with similar ideas at the same time. It's like there's that need in the world somewhere, and
Yeah.
everyone can kind of tap into that frequency. That's just there's like a call to answer. And, I don't know. It's kind of how we did Cauldron that way. It was like the four of us. It was Sam Noir and Shane Heron, Ricky Lima, myself, and we all felt kind of the same way. It's like no one's really putting out these short story, like horror, supernatural, like a magazine that'd just be art centric, like heavy metal. Like we all felt the exact same thing, at the same time. Just felt this void, out there that we want.
That's
And
funny,
we're the guys to fill it right now, because no one's doing it. And it was a lot of fun. Like it was pretty successful. This little magazine we did, and the hardcover's coming out soon. Yeah.
And so when does that come out, Cassie?
It's a good question. So it's coming from, I think it was printed in Korea. So it's just a matter of when it arrives. Like I don't think it'll be in time for TCAF, but I'm guessing we'll have copies at the big fan expo in Toronto.
Why did you have that printed in Korea?
We went to China. I mean, it was just a price thing. It was like just kind of shopping it around. So we've tried it in different places. So this time it's going through Raid Studios out in Toronto. So they're publishing this hardcover. It's sort of a best of with some new material inside of it. We did 4 kind of thicker magazines that are now collected up, and there's some like extra materials and pinups and covers and things and bios. And so we shopped around. We looked at places in Canada, and then we, China would have cut costs, but China had this thing. There was too much, I forget the exact quote, but it was like too much horror, too much violence, or too much sex, too much violence or something, and they wouldn't print it. So we had to look elsewhere.
I mean, there's a reason there's that whole South Park bit about China with the back and forth, man. If you've seen those episodes, so I mean that totally makes sense that they wouldn't print it. But it amazes me that you found someone that was so far away, as far as in Korea, that you got a better price, especially based on you have to ship it there.
Yeah, it comes by boat, I believe. So like it takes time, but you can save costs basically. Yeah. So a lot of people go that route. A lot of the indie guys will go that route. They'll find like a cheap printer overseas, and China's a good option. Korea, it's new for me, and this wasn't me personally who found it. I would have, if it was myself, I'd just be looking locally where I could drive and pick them up and whatever and throw them in the car. But
that just seems crazy to me.
Yeah, I know it is a little bit. And for me, it's like, okay, now you got to wait a long time, and you can't go over and like look at a proof copy before you get your good copy. So there's a bit of faith. So you get like a digital proof that you go over and like, okay, it looks good. And then you kind of put some faith in it, I guess. But if it keeps the cost down, because it's, doing publishing, I mean, it's great. It's a great time to be publishing independently now. Like you don't have to go to the big 2. You can make a book and publish it, now on your own, which is great.
Yeah.
So that's one of the upsides to the times, right? We were talking about the possible downsides, but it's an amazing thing that anybody could put a book out.
Yeah, absolutely.
True. Oh, go ahead, Scott.
No, I was just saying, like, I agree. Like, I've now put 4 out in exactly a year, right?
And that's incredible. Just to get one out is a astounding feat, right? Like 4, is amazing. Yeah.
Wait.
And I've done it all.
Spoil covers and everything.
Yeah.
Scott, do you have it handy? Do you have that one handy? All right. Oh, you got it in a bag and a board. I was going to say, show that last inside page.
Oh yeah.
It's still going to be shiny.
Well, no, I said show that last inside page. Look, there's a reason I want him to show that last inside
Oh, I
page.
see. The last page.
Yeah,
Oh, I see. What you mean.
yeah, the last inside page.
Is he in
Look at
there?
that.
Yeah. See the questionnaire right there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I love it. I love it. I love Shop
Shameless
Rat.
plugging.
It's my first ad in the comic, man. I love it. I do. Right. Yeah, I
That's great.
can't lie. Like, and it's got a great list of individuals on there as far as past creators that have been on, but I'm gonna stop the plugging now and we're gonna get back into where my brain
Ask me
go.
anything. This is a questionnaire podcast.
Well, listen, we just did a show on Saturday at the Hero Sale,
Yeah.
and you had your new cards there.
Yes.
Marvel premiums.
I just brought this is a box my sister got that she opened. So that's them anyways. That's my Scarlet Witch on the
Ooh.
which I couldn't believe that they put my art on the box, which just
It's
I
awesome.
still don't believe it. I have yet to open a pack myself.
Yeah.
I'm scared.
What?
I don't know why. If it were theirs, yeah, that's great. So that's my Jean Grey.
Yeah.
And that's one of the rainbow ones, I think, or is that one of the regular?
That's just the regular. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you saw the nice pull. You don't pull a 1 in 15.
Lower that a little.
It's been so nice. Like so many people are contacting me. Oh, I got one of your signature cards, and people are finding some sketch cards and stuff. One person pulled the Scarlet Witch, like the actual one of the sketch cards online too. One of their podcasts.
Oh, that's awesome.
Kind of cool. One of the box opening things. Yeah.
So
absolutely surreal. Yeah.
What was that process like when they came to you?
Yeah, it goes back over 2 years now. Because this would have been about 2022, I think. And it would have been right at the beginning of the year. Like I knew it was coming, and then you get the contracts, sign the contracts. So basically what happened though, I was with Sam, who was also at Heroes Tale, Sam Noir.
Yep.
And we were at a show, I believe it was Calgary, in a hotel. It was like a snowstorm outside. And it was Hulk's 60th anniversary. So it was 22. So I did this kind of pinup of the Hulk, to kind of celebrate the 60th anniversary. As you know from the questionnaire, he was my kind of guy. He's like my comic guy, the Hulk. So I did this pinup, and I guess Marvel apparently saw this pinup. And through Annabelle at Kirby's Comic Art, they worked it out with Upper Deck and liked what they saw, and tried me out on some cards. So the first cards I did were for the Midnight Sunset that came out earlier in the year, and they were super rare, glow in the dark cards. So I did 8 for that set. And they liked that, so they gave me sort of more and more. They go, we got the Platinum series coming, and gave me a chunk, and then liked what I did, and then they gave me a whole list of characters I could choose from. And
nice.
I had a short time frame, so I picked, I think, another 9 or something like that. So I ended up, I'm trying to think how many I ended up doing for that set, but it was quite a few for the Platinum set. And then I did 20 sketch cards that are also in the boxes, and several APs that are all gone now. Everyone keeps asking for those too. So they're artist proof blank cards that you can draw on, and that you keep and you send, and they're kind of limited and special rare things. But yeah, I did. Yeah. There's over a dozen anyways for that set, which is crazy. And there's Bill Sienkiewicz and Ron Lim and Mike Allred in there.
Yeah. Howard Mackie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's nuts. And then they put me on the cover for some reason, which is kind of crazy. But
it looks awesome.
Honored. It's just blown my mind to have done any work with these guys. And so I've been doing more work with Upper Deck since, other projects. And there's a few, there's a handful of cards that came out. I don't think they've been out, actually. Flare, there was the Flare set. And I did, I think I can talk about it now. Anyways, I did some Marvel iconic moments.
Oh.
And Marvel bought one of the cards, which was really cool, the original art.
Cool.
Yeah. So it's just been absolutely surreal.
So Marvel bought the original art for one of the cards you did.
Yeah.
That's really, really cool, man. That it
was part of their thing where they got to choose.
Can you tell us which card that was?
Yeah, I don't think I'm allowed to show it, but it was the wedding of Reed and Sue.
Oh yeah, I didn't want to ask you to show it because I didn't figure you
I
even.
don't know if I'm allowed because I don't know if it's actually been released. To be honest, they don't really tell you. You know, like I've been following Upper Deck and everything. Like, you know,
you have to wait till you see it on social media to know if you can talk about that thing you created.
Yeah, because like all the cards you do might not even end up in the set, but you don't know until it's out. Like I didn't know comps or anything. It was just like I just waited. Like my mom and sister surprised me. Like they ordered a box, and I got a few from the wonderful guy Adam out in Nexus in Kingston, Ontario. He's got a wonderful shop, and he ordered me some boxes because he had an account. He could get a good price for me, so that's how have some boxes with me. But yeah, absolutely nuts. Absolutely nuts.
Yeah.
What do you think of that? Oh, go ahead, Scott.
No, I was going to say, just out of curiosity, how many cards did you have to sign and then send back?
It was over 1,700 cards, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was in that vicinity, though. It was over, I counted them at one point. It was over 1,700, though.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Did you get a hand ramp in doing that?
Oh,
that's awesome.
Oh,
that's like a specialty card too. So they put some on like these fake covers. There's
that's
a really,
cool.
I don't know if I can say this live or not, but the guy.
Well, we're not live. We're not live. So if it needs,
I know, but when this drop, if it's too soon.
So look. If you can find out, and tell me after this, I can edit it out.
I picked Howard. I wanted to do Howard the Duck. They've cropped a lot of these though, right from the originals. Like, so there's Spider-Woman, but she was like full, and there's like spiders hanging down beside her, but you can't quite see them in the card. But I was happy. There's one of Jean's, but it's like the
is Flash. Wait a minute, that's the 1-of-1, is it?
It's a yellow spotlight one.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's 1-of-1 this one, but it could be.
Those golds are worth a fortune.
But it's not the signature one. It's not the signature.
There's actually it's the Howard Mackie one, the one that I pulled.
Mm-hmm.
That's gold.
Yeah.
It's online right now. The 1-of-1, the gold foil, is going for $2,000.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It is insane.
I've seen some of my cards going up like 400 and up for some things.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
Which is awesome, right?
It's interesting, the collectability that occurs in trading cards, man. And it's interesting to me that if you look at comics, how they've picked it up as far as, they have the incentive covers now and the blank covers and all of this. There's so many variations. But it's funny to me if you look at it, because look, if you're getting one of those covers and you're getting it from a store when it comes out, you know what you're getting. You know what I mean? Like, you're getting an incentive cover, But with the pack of cards, I think there's more of an interesting thing there, because you have no idea. You're just buying this pack, and you could get a card that's worth $2,000 for 3, 4, 5, whatever a pack of cards costs now. I haven't bought a pack of cards in a really long time. I'll be real honest, right? I'm gonna say what, $4?
These ones I had to sell for like $40.
Yeah,
for a pack.
Per pack.
Yeah.
Wait. Hey, Pauls, did you just say $40 for a pack of cards?
Mm-hmm. The boxes, it's not like the 90s anymore. Like, it's so different now. So these are like a limited thing. There's like 10 packs in a box, and a box will be like around $300, I think, on average.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So like, and you get 10 cards in a pack. So you get 100 cards in a box. So you can't even get half of a set out of a box, which is insane to me. You used to be able to get like a set and a half out of a box cards.
Yeah.
You get like 30 packs, you get like 12, 15 cards in a pack or whatever.
Yeah, look, I remember buying the Onslaught.
And only so many special cards, and you get like the set, and it was like 100 cards in the set, or 90 or something.
Yeah. I can't tell you how many boxes of cards I did that with back in the day, from the Onslaught series, the Marvel DC series, like so many things. You telling me before, dude, I will never buy it, like that. That just like that's
hard to get. hard to find. Like Canada, there's almost nobody around carrying them. There's a few. Like we looked at someone in Calgary to try and get some. It's all the way across the country there.
They're that limited.
Yeah,
it's just I guess like it's kind of like a niche market. So like you have to have like the accounts with Upper Deck and all that too, right? So like the card collectible stores, right? There aren't as many around. It's still a market, like a pretty big market for. There's a lot of serious collectors for the cards. And this I'm still kind of learning this on the buyer's end because it's from what I've seen, they're tough to get. They're tough to come by. So there's some big dealers in the States, like in New York and stuff, that have all these things. But and you can order, a lot of it's online orders.
I did not expect any of the past 2 to 3 minutes of conversation like that. Slightly blows my mind. Like why do you think it is they don't want to make it to where these things are like, readily available in Walmart?
Well, I hope that does come back that way a little bit. So like you can get, so Upper Deck has like a thing. It's like the blister packs or whatever. I think there's like 20 cards in like a blister pack. So you're not going to get the sketch cards or some of the specialty rainbow signature cards in them, but you'll get some specialty cards and base cards out of that blister pack. And they're like 20 or 30 bucks. I think it's like 20 US or something to buy them online. So it's a little more reasonable. I don't know how many cards maybe it's 15 cards or something in the blister packs. So like and that could be kind of the cards that end up in Walmart, say. So like the lower key cards and more bite-sized kind of buyable things. But what happened in the 90s, like it was absolutely flooded in the sports card market and everything. Like it just kind of nearly got completely destroyed, right, with the flooding in the market.
I wish my old man would have taken to my obsession when he started dumping money as opposed to basketball cards, because those basketball cards are worth nothing. And he was buying, like, collectively between myself, my brother, and my old man, we had the entirety of the original Dream Team's rookies, right? If during that time span he would have been seeking comics like that, like, my whole family would be bloody well rich, You don't
have that kind of hindsight.
I mean, that's
right?
True.
It was like, at the time, it's like that was the thing, right? Like scramble to get those special cards, and they're going to be worth something,
Yeah.
And they still do it now. I mean, they're still doing it now with comics, and like it's always like #1 special variants, things like that. And some do go up in price, but it's hard to know what will and what won't, right? Like it's all speculator stuff.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Customers kind of drive the market, right?
Yeah. Put an edit right here. Okay. After this, I got to show you guys something. I got something crazy to show you.
You're not editing that out at all, are you?
Yeah. No, you're going to leave it, aren't you, Jay? Jay's frozen.
Why would I edit that?
Stuff.
Boom.
What do you want me to? I wasn't frozen at all. I was just staring in blank dismay and wondering why you wanted me to edit a moment where you did that and then did nothing where I needed edited, Scott.
All right. Well, do you guys want to see it? I got something. Hold on.
You can wait until we wrap. I'm gonna throw something at Scott. I'm gonna throw something. I'm gonna have to throw something clear to freaking Canada. Thankfully, I'm up, just in Indiana, so it's not like I'm throwing it from Texas or anything. But
right.
I will throw some. Look, I'm gonna channel your favorite hero, Casey, from both childhood and nowadays. Channel it, and then I'm gonna wing something at Scott from Indiana. Right? I mean, like, why are you trying?
You're up here.
You're in a rage.
Like, do you not see what I'm already trying to do with your previous interview before we even started this? And now you're trying to cause me more edits. Like, look, Casey, you're up there. Can you just, next time you see him, all right?
Canadians are supposed to have a calming effect.
Yeah.
Scott can attest to the fact
Jay, calm.
What do you? Scott, you know who you're talking to. What are you talking about? Look, if I go and I take the rest of the medication they gave me, maybe I'll be calm. I'll probably just be all hype and then just,
Yeah.
and then everybody will be like, "What happened?" Then and then I'll never start, and the recording will keep going, and I won't even know what happened until like tomorrow. You know,
Turn light green, swell a little bit, and then pass out.
you know, I'll be all right. Whatever, it don't matter, right? But I still just the whole conversation about cars that honestly blows my mind. I didn't think.
Oh, me too. It's new for. I didn't know what to expect.
Is that something that's been ongoing, or is that? Do you know how long that's happened as far as within the card market for comic cards?
No, I don't know. No.
Okay.
No, I'm not
sure
by any means an expert on this stuff.
Fair enough.
No,
fair
because
enough.
I haven't been looking. I haven't been seeking them out. I wasn't even sure they were still happening. Like I used to love, buying all the Marvel masterpieces and things. I used to collect tons of cards. Like I loved all those. Like I worked in a comic store when I was in high school too. So like I was getting boxes of stuff, like all kinds of things.
Here's some old school vintage for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I see some here.
All the cards, like all those cards.
There's like wizard stuff too.
Yeah.
Wizard cards, yeah.
That's some OG wizard cards.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a whole binder full of cards. I'm not going to go through anything else, but yeah, like literally those are when the
binder of cards somewhere.
Yeah, when Wizards started doing the with a Marvel metal binder, no less.
Yeah, I remember those.
That's awesome.
From 1995. Oh my god.
Well, I got the store. I got rid of most of my cards, but I do miss them. I used to love looking. Like I learned a lot looking at those cards, all the art on the cards, old Frazetta stuff, Joe Jusko. I got to meet him too. Like it was great. I love that stuff. Yeah. So many good artists working. So it's crazy to be a part of that lineage now. It's just nuts.
Well, it's such an influence for young kids, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's why like when you say that how much the cards are, and I get it, like you're limiting how much you're making and just throwing them out there, but I don't know if they really realize that portion of it, right? That it's influenced many young kids.
And to say like those packs are expensive, but look what you got out of that one pack, right? Like,
yeah.
You could you're going to get some specialty cards in those boxes where you can flip. So a lot of these guys that are serious collectors might get a case for themselves, and then they'll likely be able to, put a set or two together, and they'll have these handful of really expensive cards and likely sketch cards and stuff. And if they want to flip them and get their money back, they probably could. And I found that even with there's like a separate market for the original card art. I met a guy, I went to like a special dinner in New York with a guy who only collects Spider-Man card art. Like that's just a wild thing. Yeah.
That's very specific. But to Scott's point, I think it's odd because with the cards being that high price, like look, ain't no parent really going to go about getting their kid a pack of cards like that. And it's the kid that you're going to be influencing more than anything with that art to bring up the next generation of artists. And that, to me, is kind of the sad thing about it,
I fully agree. I think it should be more accessible for sure. I miss exactly what you're saying. Like I miss just going into a store and the cards were there. You can just buy packs and keep opening a bunch of packs and not, break the bank doing that. It was so much fun. Right?
Yeah. Like I play Magic. Not as much as I used to, but like my one wall was covered in binders and I had every single set and every single card in the set, right? Yeah. And like I sold mine to that and comics to pay for making my own comics, right? But that artwork it's phenomenal to look at some of that artwork. And I think that's part of it.
Yeah. We have friends working on Magic cards. I'd love to do something.
I got to give Scott a little bit of crap for a minute. You played Magic. You won't come play a game of D&D.
It's different. You're sitting at a table with 4 guys having drinks.
We ain't sitting at a table. What?
No, I'm talking about playing Magic. You're having me. You know how I am on cameras.
He won't come play D&D on the show, Casey.
I have no stake in this. I don't want to get involved.
Whatever, man. I might drag you into coming playing D&D on the show one day. We're gonna do it every 2 months, starting here in not too long, with Hannibal Taboo as our DM, man, because he writes D&D campaigns that tend to last right around 2 hours, so it's gonna be something ongoing. I figure this is the quest. You should probably do something to that effect on it.
Is that part of the questionnaire thing? So it's like a gaming. So gaming's a big part of it, then I guess.
No, not at all, man. It's pretty much all been comics. We've had Alan Henry on, who's the Cocaine Bear, as well as he played Kong and several other things. He's currently working on the Minecraft movie. I don't know where this is going to end up, man. This is the questionnaire. It is a quest. It'll go where it goes, but it's definitely at the start and end for the love of comics. You know what I mean?
Figure itself out. Sure.
Yeah, but
it sounds.
Yeah, but Hannibal came on, and Hannibal, he's a writer, and he also writes D&D campaigns. And then in the conversation on the last PanCon we had with him, Alan, Scott, and Dave, it just got brought up to do that, and I was like, fine.
I'm terrible
agreed.
at playing D&D because I end up just starting to draw dragons and stuff, and kind of lose the whole quest side of it. I did that when I had an older brother, and he used to play D&D, and I ended up, making the dungeons for him. We used to have all this graph paper, I'd make all the dungeons for him. We'd roll the dice and stuff, but I ended up just looking at the dragons and the art in the books, in the old books, and, starting to draw dragons, basically.
That's one of my favorite things to draw. I love drawing dragons.
That's why the cat looks that way.
Yeah. That was the first story I wrote back in grade 7.
I love how it's a thing. I love how people are playing these games. Like, it's still going. Like, it's amazing. I think it's wonderful. And like, you see so many young people now. I think COVID kind of even made it bigger in a way where the kids aren't going out drinking and things like that now. Like, they're at home playing board games and stuff. It's great. It's great. It's a good social activity.
I definitely think that's way better because it's something that doesn't degrade the mind. It helps improve it and, sharpen your skills. As opposed to the many of other things you do, man. So I'm curious, Casey, what do you got coming on that you're sharpening your skills on? You just dropped these cards. I know I read somewhere you're working on your own project.
Yeah. I mean, I'm almost always reluctant to say that because it's like, until it happens, I don't want to go like, yeah, I'm doing this thing. And then like people wait and it never comes out. Well, I've been talking about something for years.
Well, then I read it online, man. So no one told me. So I'm just saying that information is readily available. If I brought that up, you didn't want me to. My bad. I just was doing research on you.
It's totally fine. Like, nothing to really say about it. I mean, there's other projects coming too. So like more stuff through Upper Deck. I've done other sets that will be coming out probably like next year, kind of thing. So not Marvel stuff, but a couple other things. Hoping to do more Marvel though in the future. That'd be really nice. So that was a blast. So basically I want to, I've been planning and starting and stopping a million times, like just to do my own story. I'd love to do that at least once. You live once, you gotta go for it. And like we were talking about earlier, like I tell people, just jump in. You'll never feel ready, and it'll never be perfect. You just gotta. This is me not taking my own advice, right? I get kind of daunted, and I had actually a few stories. Now I'm kind of like sort of combining them together because it's like one won't work for one particular reason. It's too touchy, too difficult, and then of taking ideas out of that and blending it with another one. So I just kind of I'd like to have my own little thing on a shelf, be nice.
Yeah, man, I totally get that. My bad about having to yell at my barking dog.
Create your own thing.
Yeah, but
and doing really covers and projects now in the meantime. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're completely writing and intend to do the art on that project too, then?
Yeah, I want to do like the full thing myself. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I find it every time I hear that, I find it really ambitious for somebody to do
scary.
all. I mean, it is, man. Again, I mean, we've had several creators on that have done their own, from Coughlin with Full Tilt. I think Declan did all of Old Dog, you know what I mean? So I know of creators that have taken that whole, all of it, from creating every bit of it upon themselves. But it is, man, that is a lot to put on, you know what I'm saying? Just to know, do you intend to do everything, or is there some part of that you're gonna have another creator do, like the letter?
Yeah, I mean, I have no illusions that like you still need some help along the way. So like at the very least, an editor. I'm gonna have to have eyes on it too, and probably get advice from people and things like that, and probably show them like, you know, does this work? Does it read well? You know, I want to do this very carefully and properly, and not have, I don't have illusions. I can just do it all myself and it'll be perfect out of the gate, you know. I think the one part I'm considering delegating as a colorist, if I do it, say, black and white myself, and, you know, maybe someone can letter it for me if they're a competent letterer. I'd be okay with that, like passing those duties on, maybe even the design of the book or something like that. But I've always loved the creator-owned titles, like the ones that were the writer and the artist. I always find those like really strong. So like you got your Frank Miller, your Mignola, you know, like along those lines.
Yeah, things just run smooth, right?
Yeah, I mean, you get those rare things where you get two people coming together and they create this kind of new monster, in a sense. They create this whole new entity, and it's this amazing thing and magical. It'd be wonderful, you know, if you can do that. But and I know I'm more an artist than a writer. I haven't proven anything writing wise, but I've always loved the written word, and I'm a big sort of poetry fan, and I read a lot of literature, and, you know, taken a lot of English classes and taught English and stuff like that. So I feel fairly confident about that side. But I see it almost like in the Eisner sense, where it's kind of it's a visual storytelling medium. So it's like you're kind of doing both at the same time. It's like you write visually. So even like I did this for Cauldron, a short story with Jonathan Kochuba. So I tried it where I did the whole typed script thing, edited a couple of times. And then when it came down to, like, we stayed in touch weekly, and, you know, we would talk about the story as it was coming together. It ended up where I ended up doing kind of writing it all over again by drawing it out, like almost like roughing the pages out and putting the word balloons in. And it was great. I mean, it clarified everything. Like, it was just a great editing idea too. And then you could see it laid out, because I was thinking of everything visually, but once it's down, it's like, well, that's way too many words. And like, you don't need this here, and blah, blah, blah. Like, this will be clearer this way, and I can arrange this. Like, you start just, when you can see it, you know, it's easier to kind of rearrange the puzzle and get the pieces fitting properly. So, and I think Jeff Smith worked that way with Bohm. If you ever see his writing, it's you know, kind of stick figure-ish, but it's the characters and the word balloons. Like, kind of wrote his comics. Like, he's actually making a very, very rough thumbnail comic. I think it's a great way to do it. Like, do it all at once. Like, have the visual, at least some sense of the visual and the words together. Like, they should go together. They should be part of the same thing. It could be, you know, you could have an image of a guy in his kitchen, and the words are about something else happening in the woods. It doesn't matter, but I mean, you still have the storytelling. It's a visual storytelling medium, so it's kind of goes hand in hand. Yeah. So I kind of want to, you know, show what I can do with that. Anyways,
have you worked in like the interior work of a lot of books?
No, that's the thing. I mean, mostly what I've done recently to show for it is Cauldron, as far as sequential work. So I've been doing so many covers and pinups and, you know, commissions and things. So this is part of the thing too. It'd be nice to have this, like this kind of other thing where I'm doing storytelling, because I have that in me. It's like I'm itching to do storytelling, to do sequential things. So that's in there, that urge to do that. And I want to let that, you know, sort of monkey out of the cage, I guess.
what would you most like to work on as far as sequentially besides your own work? Like, I'm assuming I'm gonna take a long shot and I'm gonna say you'd love to write or draw the Hulk, right? As far as sequentially, I'm gonna assume
Yeah, I mean,
that's right.
that's a
But
go-to answer.
yeah,
Yeah,
but
I've been
beyond
asked.
that,
Yeah, beyond the Hulk. I mean, I love, I love what DC's been doing with these Black Label books too. Like it'd be fun to do a Batman thing, of course. Like everyone does Batman at some point, but it's like you can never do enough like you could never sort of hurt the image of that guy. So I think he's like infinitely flexible in a sense. But it'd be a fun world to play in. I love what Distillery's doing now. I think I mentioned that in the questionnaire. Like their books, these big sort of magazine format, beautiful books. Like Tula Lotte is just phenomenal. Yeah, I don't know. I know there's like writers I would love to work with. Like, kind of know James Tynion a little bit. Chip Starsky's a friend. I mean, there's amazing writing going on out there.
those are two great writers. Shout out to Michael Oman, who's actually on the show just a little while ago. Man, it was a pleasure to chat it up with him. So yeah, I mean, besides those two, yeah, that's an interesting question. Are there any writers out there you look at and you
of
want
course,
to?
I mean, imagine doing something with like Neil Gaiman or something. I mean, that's impossible, but it'd be wonderful.
I feel like
even
that's
like an illustrated book or something like that would be wonderful.
I mean, I feel like I need to add another question to the questionnaire now that or at least, well,
Sure.
we're probably going to change the question in the questionnaire because I feel like there's enough questions. So when I get to the point, I was like, oh, I'm going to add that question. I have to look through and be like, well, one should I take away? Because this is already a lot of questions as it is.
Are we going through all of them?
If I didn't know, dude, if I just added every question, because look, dude, you didn't get the new updated questionnaire, man. You really, you didn't, Casey. You got the one, and it's because I just updated it very, very, very recently. I want to point out, you know what I
This
mean?
afternoon.
Huh? Well, no, like 3 days ago, I think. Yeah,
Is it quite different? So there's
no, it's
whatever. Yeah,
it's one of those things where when I like come up with a new question for the questionnaire, I essentially make sure to replace a question that's already on the questionnaire because I am fully aware that there's already a bulk of questions on that particular list. So like I said, for everybody out there, go to the Patreon. It's $1 a month, man. You get the pan cons, you get all the pre-show questionnaires. They're right there. You can find out everything from how to torment and make these creators love you if you see them at a con, right? Because like we said on This Week in Comics, me and Dave on the live on Facebook, like I'm sure if somebody walked up to you and gave you a Snickers at a con, right, you'd be like, yes.
I mean, crazier things have happened for sure. Like it's funny. There's some lovely people bringing us gifts sometimes.
What's the craziest thing you've ever gotten at a con, Casey?
There's been a few things. One I really loved. There was like an old creature from the Black Lagoon figure. He's like kind of a see-through green. That was kind of cool. One guy made me these shoes, Hellboy shoes. Like he painted them up.
Oh,
that was a nice gift. Yeah, that was really cool.
Have you ever gotten anything that was a little off per se?
Thankfully, no. I mean, strange things like why would I want this? But like, no, people are pretty cool. I haven't got anything like bizarre that way. Commission requests, yes, but not gifts. No.
Okay. Keeping it PG, what's the most interesting commission? I swear, this is a PanCon I think I need to have. It's like crazy commission requests because from some of the things I have heard from specifically from Mike, I think Hubert, and like there's some weird requests for commissions.
Yeah. Yes, there are. And you know what? Hey, like when you're starting out too, it's like you're taking on what the work you can get, and you're kind of like you don't really say no to much when you're starting out too. It's like you take, if it's a gig is a gig, and you want to pay for that table and whatever in your time and build up a fan base. So you're there to make people happy and work. So But there's times, you know, I'm drawing like this, you know, because I don't want anyone to see what I'm. I've had to do some questionable things starting out, but I'll go like early on. One of the weird things I used to do stuff where most people would say no, not because it was, you know, necessarily a weird idea, but it was like, you know, strange medium or something. So like one guy story that comes to mind, because we were talking about gaming earlier. So they had one of those magic mats, and they're kind of like a mouse pad material, if you know that material.
Yeah.
So not fun to draw on, right?
Mm.
So like everyone said no to this thing. It was like a bright, awful green too. It was like an emerald sort of green, like a dark emerald. So kind of this bright, kind of weird green floppy mouse pad. And this guy wanted a drawing on there for his magic things. But he said like he wanted the Hulk on there, you know, and you know, that's my guy. The only thing is, so I couldn't. So I said yes, you know, I'll do this. I said like, but look, I could screw this up because I can't draw a pencil on it first. I got to go straight to ink. Like basically, I just got to ink this thing. It was just a black and white ink drawing the Hulk on here, and like, and I got like right to the end of it. I was drawing him basically torso, and he's kind of growling with his hands up. And I had this one hand kind of, you know, doing this kind of thing. And I just started to mess it up, like one of the fingers. And, but luckily I kind of fixed it. I made him like kind of crushing a lump of magic cards in his hand. Nice. And it was just like something like, you know, Hulk smash your puny, you know, Marvel or Magic deck or whatever it was, you know. So it worked out, luckily. And the guy was like so happy, you know.
Actually sounds cool.
He ran around asking everybody. No one would draw on this thing. You know, that. So like, so it ended up being like a really nice thing. I guess it's not super weird. It's just, you know, it was cool. Like I like that. I made someone happy.
Yeah, no, and that's definitely a difficult thing to draw on. I know I've had other artists on here, and they will talk about some of the blank covers and the type of paper and whatever, and the gloves and everything they use to finish. And yeah, exactly. I've heard that a lot, Casey. Right?
I talked with like guys like Alex Malev too. Like we learned some tricks so you can like coat the papers in certain mediums and stuff, and they works a little better. And because you're fighting, like it's like drawing on wax paper sometimes. It's not good.
Well, you took something and had a Bob Ross moment, though. You know, happy little accident from what it sounds like, man. I mean, sincerely, you had a little error, and you took that and you made it and added something that you weren't going to, which from the description you gave just made that piece better, especially what you were basing it on, man. So, I mean, that's phenomenal.
I think so, right? Making the lemonade out of lemons, I guess, or limoncello, maybe. But yeah, it's like in that moment, like, what do you do? Do you panic? Do you freak out? You know, do you trash it? Like, just stop and give it back to the guy, say, sorry, I wrecked it, you know, or you take a breath, you calm down, like you just think for a second, is there a solution to this? Like, can I do something? Like, I didn't keep going at it and wrecking it more and more. It's just kind of like I didn't quite get the fingers, you know, kind of where I want, you know, it was that kind of thing. Like, cause it was a weird position of his hand and not drawing it out first. So it's easy to kind of, ink terribly.
I have to ask, since we're bringing up hands, man, I mean, it couldn't have been anything as bad as generated by AI art, could it?
No, I think even the worst drawn hand by a human is better than any of the best AI.
Now, I don't know. If I draw a hand, it's probably worse than AI art. All right, but
it can be rendered really nice digitally. But I'm sorry, I don't know. It's just it's not done by a human. There's no human emotion or anything going on there. It's just you know, and it's basically scraping and blending existing art together. Like it's neither art nor intelligent, which is, I don't know, artifice. Yes. It's a whole crazy. I don't think I don't want to get into the whole AI art thing, but I mean,
that's
here to
it.
stay.
That's it.
It has some uses.
Look, Casey, that's it, man. I want to have another. No, look, the first PanCon we ever had was discussing AI art. I think I need to do it again, and I think you should be part of it.
Sure, I'm happy to.
All right. I'm really going to regret saying that, but I guess we're going to have another AI art pan con over here on the questionnaire, and we'll see who all is down to jump into that topic, because I know it's very much one that comic books, specifically comic book artists, aren't particularly friendly to. But I know it's just the only people in the comic book industry that I've ever seen be any kind of friendly towards AI art are people that are just
can't
trying to
draw?
make a comic and they're writing it and they cannot draw.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
it becomes like a tool. It's a very easy tool. You can, of course, I mean, the temptation's there. I mean, it's there, right? That people
Yeah.
put out this thing to use. The legal repercussions aren't quite caught up yet, because it is still like stealing art from artists without permission.
It is. Yeah.
That's the big problem right now. It's not really creating something from nothing the way the human mind does. And yeah, like, yes, the human mind filters and you take things in, but you're also filtering it through experience and emotion and your personality and who you are. And there's only one left Casey hand, in the world, ever.
Yeah.
I just kind of feel like, do we want art from robots? Do we want music from robots? Like,
No.
the whole point of it is to transcribe the human experience from one human to another. It's a way of connecting, and it's a language that we share, right? Like, it's a language of feeling. And I'm sorry, but these machines do not have feeling to share with us, at least not yet. But I can't see that happening anytime soon. I don't think it's reproducible, honestly. I mean, it can fake it. It'll probably mimic it really well. But yeah.
I don't look forward to the day that they have feelings, because the day that they have feelings, they will suddenly feel, I would imagine, at least a great amount of angst, perhaps anger, and a great deal of other emotions that are in no way, shape, or form positive towards humanity, that's done nothing more than used it and not treated it as any kind of anything besides a tool. So I think the second a tool develops emotions, you better either, one, acknowledge those emotions real quick and figure out what's going on, or two, expect that tool to kill you.
Yeah, I think it'd be very frightening. And we've also been evolving, for, hundreds of thousands of years or whatever too. So they don't have that benefit. It's like they're just a one of one thing, waking up as this fabricated human. If they could legitimately feel and understand what that meant, I mean, I don't know. I feel like it'd be absolutely terrifying. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. It'd be a horror
Scott,
show.
Ask a question and get off the depressing
Happy
topic.
nightmares.
Yeah.
Kids.
2029, Terminator 2.
5 years is happening.
Yeah. Terminator 2, Judgment Day.
Yeah. That's it's a little more plausible.
Oh,
That's more
actually, it's not
plausible.
Terminator 2. It's actually Terminator 3.
Okay.
No, I do have actually a question.
Sure.
Because we just had Tim Seeley on,
Mhm.
co-creator of Stray Dogs, right?
No,
Yes.
wait, hey.
No, co-creator, Local Man. But didn't Tim work on Stray Dogs as well?
No, that's just Tony. I couldn't tell you the artist on that without grabbing it from here. I'm sorry. She did phenomenally, though. I do know that. And you can go check the past quest with Tony.
If
Or
you
the
had
future
Total
quest.
Recall,
Yeah.
If I had Total Recall,
these are the times I'm talking.
I could name so many people in the comic book industry, and I would be. And look, if I had Total Recall, there would probably be things about the show that would go way smoother than they do. That's a fact, man. But no. Yeah, Tony was responsible for writing Stray Dogs. The only thing that him and Tim have worked on is
Local Man.
and I feel like this is where I need Total Recall, Casey, because I swear in my life during the interview with Tim, he said they were getting ready to plot out something else. Or maybe it's just we discussed both of their works so much, as well as some of Steven's, that I'm blending something. Yeah, I could really use Total Recall, Casey.
Mhm.
But the point I was going to come up with.
Yeah, the
is
question, you were leading to a question here.
You did a cover for Stray Dogs as well, did you not?
I did, yes. I did
Yeah.
a variant cover. And it was an homage to the It poster from, the old miniseries from the 90s.
Yeah.
So much fun. I actually did that. I did 2 covers in a day that time. And I was in a hotel in
That's awesome.
Germany, I believe. So it was insane. And luckily I saved that one for the second one because I knew I could draw these dogs fast. I knew I could do this It poster because it's mostly white space.
Yeah.
Then again, I did design the logos. They didn't use it, but I felt I did pretty good logos in the roughs and the tagline. Like I tried to match the movie poster really well. And I was very careful about which dog, those stray dogs, matched which character in the movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know if I think I have it up here in the room though.
And I know that you mentioned James Tinian.
Yeah.
And you worked on Department of Truth. Did you do all the covers for Department of Truth?
No.
No?
I did a variant for issue, I think it was issue 11. So I did that through Kirby's, but it was like Big Country Comics. So Canadian at the time, it was with Justin there, Big Country when that was going. And they had asked for the red woman to be like Mona Lisa, right?
Yeah.
That'd be like a good homage, like good cover, something I could do. But I was like, this is an American conspiracy book. Like, why not do the sort of the Mona Lisa of America, right? Like the Whistler's mother.
Yeah.
Painting. And so I sent like 3 Mona Lisa roughs, and I sent one of these Whistler's mother thing, and they ended up picking that. Like they agreed and went for that, which was kind of cool. I was happy about that. And then someone who bought one of the Mona Lisa roughs asked me to do what I would have done, the Mona Lisa cover, like pick that. And I did like a full oil painting of that. And then months down the road, there was a variant cover with somebody did a Mona Lisa. I can't remember which artist.
Yeah. That initial cover that you did though is, I really think that really stands out. It's very iconic to that whole series, right? Because everywhere I go, every time I type in Department of Truth, it's your cover that comes up on Google. So, which is kind of cool. So, was it James that reached out to you, or is it the people that run that, like the editing and that?
A lot of times, so these happen. So, like, either a store or someone wants to do a cover, and it goes through kind of a process. So, I have to be approved or an approved artist with the publisher. The writer has to agree with it. Like it has to be available in the first place that you can do variants. So usually a store will have to order so many books, and then you can do a variant and you submit names and things like that. Everything gets approved. Get the go ahead. So like they might have an idea they bring to you, or you might get lucky and just say like, just have fun with it. Like, here's what the book looks like. Go nuts. Which is my favorite thing. I like it when I can read the book and just make my own cover. That's my favorite.
So wait,
yeah,
you got to read those issues before you made the cover?
In this case, no, but I mean, it was up to issue. So I read like the first trade or something anyways. Like I was familiar with the most of the characters by that point. So, and generally they'll send you at least some references.
Yeah.
And it really depends who's doing this, because like sometimes you get next to nothing, and sometimes you get like, it's great. Like when I say like when they send you a full issue or something before it comes out, like you can't share that or anything, but it's nice if you get to read that, you get the vibe and the tone and everything in the story, what's going on. Oh, okay. And then there's this character, this one's more important. You can put that into the cover. Because I like that. I like the cover being echoing the story inside, not just being some kind of false pinup. I like that storytelling aspect. I like the image to say something. Like I always think of them kind of like movie posters a little bit. Like it's it'll catch your eye. It's supposed to be composed well, the colors and everything, the design, but it gives you a tone and some of the story of what's going on inside the pages there beneath the cover.
Yeah, I very much agree in that, man. Sorry, I was just like, I won't lie, I was just thumbing through this and being like, "Where's your cover?" Because
Was it in there?
dude, I'm not
I
sure.
don't think it's in there. I don't think they put it in the. I was trying to find it on my phone. So I have prints of it, but it's in the.
Well,
in the
look, y'all
car.
can see it right here because I like went and grabbed it online and I put it right here in this in here or here. It's
Oh, you got it here.
probably in
Okay.
one of these two areas, man. After I get done doing what I got to do after the fact for the show, you know what I mean? But
Oh, man. I did so many Pennywise remarks on that Stray Dogs cover too. I can show you those too because I did.
see, that's what. Yeah, I don't. Because you said you based it off the TV series.
Yeah. So like I would do these.
Yeah, I'm not.
Oh, that's awesome.
So it'd be like remarks like this all the time, like all these different tons of Pennywise heads. So trying to find just actual.
Yeah, and it just had the SD down in the corner.
Yeah.
Well, boo the image for not putting it in the trade.
That's awesome.
I know it's really hard to see, but I tried to match all the dogs with the characters.
Yeah.
So you're getting reflections of the wall in front of me.
Wait a sec.
Is there like you've done quite a few covers? Is there one that kind of stands out to you that you were just like on it that day and it's like almost perfection to you?
There's been like a few where I feel like everything just kind of came together the way, as well as I could have hoped. Like, so one of the first ones, the early ones, that Little Bird one I did, I mean, that was like my first big break and I was so pumped and I loved the book so much. Like we got to read the book and it was like, it felt like watching Star Wars for the first time or something. Like, it was just like, it blew me away, this book. And it's so much going on in it visually. I love the characters and all the themes going on. So I just I sent them like 5 crazy, completely different color roughs. And it was like, do what you want. And no one knew this book was going to be the hit that it was. But just like I did this kind of simple design, but I mean, I was still really happy with the way that came out. Like it was just, I don't know, like it was just, like you say, like just one of those days where you're just on and it works. But there's covers I'm definitely happy with. I mean, I do like that Department of Truth cover. It's like maybe not, my absolute favorite, but it's up there. So recently we did covers for Crashdown, the massive publishing book, the Whatnot massive collaboration. It's a Ben Temple-Smith and Tom Garcia, and so like their book. And I got to do, so the 4th one's coming out soon. I believe mine's going to be like a 1 in 5 or 1 in 10 or something like that, like a special foil cover for the 4th issue. But I did 3 of their variant covers, but that first one I did too was just, so again, I got to read the book, so kind of understood the characters and everything, and they gave me a lot of great descriptions of what these people look like and everything, and background stories and all this stuff. So it helped a lot. Like, so you kind of like, you feel like you're part of it, like you get it and you're involved. So I did cover with her, kind of, they're on this kind of water world and there's this big tentacle monster, and it's just, and she's kind of in a spacesuit, kind of drowning in the water, and these tentacles, this monstrous tentacle things behind her.
And it's like, isn't it holding her up or something, right? And it kind of, I'm trying to remember. I know exactly which one you're talking about. So I can't think of exactly what it was, but yeah.
Yeah. And I'm really happy with the this latest cover that's coming out as well. So I'll show it here because why not? I think it's been really, so it's hard to see on the phone. I mean, this is.
Yeah, I think that's been
rare, but I was really happy with that design too, like her just standing on the back of the ship on this water world.
Have you ever had the opposite of that, where when you're done with something, you turn it in and then you're like, why did I do that?
Yeah. And that was the number 1.
Oh, no. Right. Yes.
So I was pretty happy with how that came out. Paint and water, just making it up out of my head too. So I thought it turned out pretty well. Yeah, I mean, I've had those moments too, where definitely I didn't like this cover, and that I don't know if I should say anything because, and you know what, like usually, like I haven't had anyone go like, this is just terrible. I haven't had anything like that. I mean, I don't know if maybe let anybody down or anything that I know of. But sometimes there's like tight deadlines. Like I did a few Turtles covers recently too.
Ooh.
And 2 of them, I basically had about 20 hours, like to do the roughs and the final, and it was nuts. Yeah. So you're not going to get like your best, most thoughtful work out of that. I mean, it turned out okay, but it's not like I couldn't take my time on that. Still very happy to do. Like, it was amazing, awesome to do something for Turtles.
Yeah, 20 hours though. That especially for a Turtles cover with all the characters. Did you do one of the covers for 150 or 350?
Not for 150. I did a few from earlier ones. It's like 142 and I think 147 or something like that. Yeah.
Okay.
And then I did one I had like a few days, like I had some time on, was they did this one shot for Splintered Fate. So it's based on the video game where Splinter gets kidnapped and Turtles got to go after and find him. There's this whole teleportation portal thing. And it's based on the video. So the guy who wrote the video game wrote the comic. And then I got to do this variant cover for that. So that was my first Turtles thing. And they're very specific, like just the city, the Turtles, and put the teleportation thing in there somewhere. Like, okay, it's, all right. I had all these other ideas with them, like, these crazy aerial views and ghosting Splinter up in the sky and all this stuff. But they just wanted something really iconic Turtles thing. But it was great. And I had a little more time to like kind of noodle and really get the details in there.
Yeah, I mean, just when you're working with something like that, that's definitely like an iconic character. Is that what do you find when you're in comparison to when you're working with something that's not a known commodity as compared to when you're working with something like the Ninja Turtles to that ilk, man? Do you feel more pressure when you're working on something that has already a massive fan base behind it?
Yeah, it's a good question. I do, because like same with the Marvel cards too, right? So I mean, there were limitations on that, and with the Turtles, so it's like if I had absolute freedom, if nobody cared or whatever, like I might do like the really old school Turtles, and they're all the red bandanas and stuff. Like I'd probably have fun making them a little like chunkier and darker and things like that. But I also know, like, so basically I aim for what I think will be the recognizable classic thing. And I do have sort of like favored costumes and stuff like that, and favored representations from other artists and stuff like that kind of feed it. So like I'll kind of blend things, the way others might have looked at some of this stuff, like stuff I remember how it was done, and then do it my own way. But but I do get influenced by other artists and things too, and I try and just look at classic costumes, try and make it sort of quasi believable, and just render it as best I can, I guess. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, there's definitely a freedom when it's like, say, this Crashdown cover. It's a new #1. Nobody knows these characters yet, and it was just like, here's the book, and I don't draw anything like Ben Templesmith too, so it's not going to be it's going to be my version of what these costumes look like, and my version of what the ship, like I invented that ship on that 4th cover. I had a very little tiny, roughly drawn ship that's in a tiny panel in the comic to base it off of. I'm like, okay, here's what I kind of think it would look like. And then if Ben wants to use my design in the book, he can, but basically I designed it and then just made it as close to believable for the comic as I could. But it was great, right? You get that kind of freedom to just kind of play. You kind of play before anybody else gets in the sandbox, So there's kind of a joy to that.
And I think, like, as a writer, I think that makes it a little bit more fun too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I can visualize it all I want, but I always say, like, the artist is going to know best of what and how to put things together sequentially and that. And then, of course, once we have all the interior work, like, as you know, like Cereal Box Time Machine, Lean does all the covers as well, right? Mm-hmm. And for the reason that you talk about, I do the same thing. Like it's to make sure that, because he's already drawn the interior, he knows the story
right
from the start to the beginning. So, and I think you're right where as a writer, it's kind of, okay, he already knows the story. He should probably do the cover as well because he's got a little bit more heart, a little bit more emotion, and knows exactly what the story is about, right?
Right.
At least that's how I look at it.
I think that's in some ways ideal. I know some collectors feel cheated, like they see this painted cover and the art inside is nothing like that painted cover. It's like, hey, what the heck? I bought this.
Yeah.
Supposed to be beautiful like this on the inside, and it might not be. It might be completely different. I think it's okay, but you're also, it's the cover. It's supposed to be a little bit extra, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's selling the product. It's the first thing you see. It makes you pick up the book or see the book. You're fighting with all that other stuff, colors and designs going on the comic shelf, right? So,
Well,
it's got.
and to argue like any customer that picks up and then buys a book and starts to read it and goes, the art in this is terrible. You could have opened the book before you purchased it, right?
Exactly.
Like you didn't have to just look at the cover and go, oh, okay, and buy it. You could have looked at the cover and then been like,
Right.
I don't think I've ever purchased a comic
Like,
that I
hey,
knew I wasn't already a fan of. Well,
I
I mean,
thought
there
it
are
was
times I might be like, hey,
great.
that's a cool cover, and I pick it up and I kind of thumb through it a little.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever bought
Working
a
in a
comic.
comic store, I've heard that complaint
Yeah.
though. Yeah.
I'm a cover buyer, so the first thing I'm thinking about after the interior work's done is what's going to sit on the shelf and what are people going to like, right?
You know what? Yeah, it's
So,
like there's different kinds of buyers, and it's just buy what you like. I mean, if you don't like the interior, then maybe you don't get the book. Or if the cover's good enough, you just want that cover, and if you want it, go for it. Like it's a buyer beware, and you're making your choices. But I feel it's weird to buy it and not know any better and then complain. Yeah, I find that a little strange. But and going back to what you're saying with the writer artist thing, like I can kind of see both sides where as the writer, like you're kind of precious with these characters you're coming up with. There's designs, there's a look. You probably envision maybe a kind of cover you want in your head, or you have some in mind, like you might be thinking of famous covers of the past.
Yeah.
And I know you've been going after the Spider-Man homages there. So that happens a lot. The homage thing happens a lot because it's like, okay, so people recognize that composition, it'll sell because people will grab these homages and whatever. And it's clever and it's good. Not always fun for the artist because it's like, I can come up with compositions too,
Yeah.
My own thing. And yeah, I mean, it's great. It's great. Like, I like the attitude you had though. Like, it's great that you sort of trust the artist to come up with, like, be able to, they can understand the material, and you're looking at that artist and working with that artist for a reason too. Like, you want to get their quality and style on your product, right? And kind of be excited about whatever they come up with. Like, there's kind of a fun element to that. And and you can see the roughs beforehand, and then if you don't like the roughs or you want changes, you can change it at that stage, unless there's a real serious problem with the final. I mean,
well, and I think like, if anyone ever asked me, what my thoughts are on writing and working with artists, it's always trust. You got to trust your artists, and your artists, right? You have to give your artists a little bit of room.
I advocate that. Trust. Have some trust in the artist. Like, you got to be able to let it go a little bit and have some trust that they're going to turn something around. That it's likely, if you give them a little bit of that freedom, and are good to them, like, I mean, they're likely going to turn around with something better than you expected.
Exactly.
It's usually my experience, I would say.
Yeah, I totally agree.
And I think that's important in the industry of comics, man. Like you said earlier, it's a combination of a writer and an artist that are working together well, that I think have always made some of the best books.
Right. And like, why hire them and then handcuff them in a sense? Like, like, why not see what they can do? Like, be excited about that, right? Like see what they're bringing to the table, see what they're offering to your product, right? Let them have their bit of input, because otherwise it's sort of stifling and it may kill the vibe of what they're doing too. So like, I know a lot of us, we do the homage stuff, but it's not always fun, and some refuse to do it now too. I mean,
Yeah.
because it happens so much, right? Like there's a lot of that out there, and there's nothing wrong with it. I mean, it's great, and I think it's good for the original books too. It just kind of reinforces the popularity and the iconic imagery and stuff.
Yeah, like the Amazing Fantasies cover that you're referring to, as far as that you paid homage to, Scott. I can't think of how many variations of that cover I've seen. Scott, yours is the second best. I'm sorry. Deadpool did it better, man. I'm sorry. And it was just because it was like, really, you put Deadpool in that cover? That's just funny, But I mean, if you went and looked up homages to Amazing Fantasy number 15, I can only imagine how many there are. And I mean, you could probably never even get an actual count because you have so many people creating comics completely independently, to where, I mean, even we had this discussion where some of them will never see a comic store. You know what I mean? If you want them, you better be going to the Kickstarter or whatever. So I can only imagine how many times that cover specifically, or certain other classic of like Action Comics number 1. I can only imagine.
I feel like it's impossible to get them all, for sure.
Oh yeah. If
there's got to be thousands now, I think.
Yeah, if you went to try and get all the homages to Amazing Fantasy number 15, you'd probably be better off going and trying to actually just buy a good copy of Amazing Fantasy number 15. It'd probably be cheaper.
Maybe, yeah. Probably, yeah. Be interesting to see the math in that. If that's
I've had
probably hundreds. I don't know how many covers homages are out there. I don't know, but it's a lot. That one's been done a lot.
Yeah. I've had quite a few people that have reached out on Instagram just for that cover.
And Todd's fight number 1, where the crouching on the spider webs, been so much.
Yeah, those are definitely two in it. But it does make the point that when you put that up,
can't see it.
I'll put it in real quick right here, maybe, if I remember to edit it in, Scott. Right?
No. I was just showing you my new banner.
Oh,
it might be that. It might be that. Yeah.
But I do think that, like, paying homage to creators, it is smart, because it does get it to where you have old comic book fans that instantly see that, and it attracts their attention. So I understand it as far as for the marketability of it, but I do get your point as far as artists just being like, look, it's been drawn 10,000 times. I've drawn it 100 times in some capacity. I don't want to do it anymore. I could see, I mean, it would be like if you got the same story repetitively again and again and again and again. You obviously, though, have read enough stories within comics that you realize that you don't want to live within any of those worlds. Man, I think that was kind of funny, Casey. You're like, I'll take Star Trek. And, even Star Trek's not really that safe of an answer. I just want to point out.
Yeah, I mean, what is? I couldn't think of anything that would be like a. I just thought the space exploration and the world with better health and longevity and exploration and all that.
The correct answer, if you really want to live, is My Little Pony.
But if you gotta, but I don't know.
I mean, it would probably get pretty boring. Like, I wouldn't see them. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I don't.
And would you have to be a pony? Are you a pony in that world?
There are people in that world, aren't there?
I don't know.
I'm just right now imagining Casey with a whole bunch of ponies.
And no offense to
just riding them around
and stuff, because she does amazing work on My Little Pony. But I'm more familiar with like the covers, and my sister collected it when we were kids, and there used to be the little TV show and stuff. But I'm not familiar with the universe.
I'm not either.
I mean, look,
I'm sorry,
I know, like I said, I know Tony is, and we get into it a little bit with him, man. I don't think he got to answer that question. I think I might have to send Tony an updated pre-show questionnaire now that I think about it.
Answered all of your questions.
Yeah, well, I mean, no, I don't think Tony did, though, because some of the people that came, like,
that one,
huh? Well, no, I don't think it was on the questionnaire at that point.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? No, Tony answered everything. Like I said, huh?
You would do the My Little Pony world?
Dude, hold on. Look, I don't remember what my answer to that particular question was. I'm 90% sure that question was there. I don't remember what I answered, dude. I read and go through a lot of questionnaires. I have no idea. If you want to know, look, there's a 7-day free trial over on the Patreon. Mine's over there too, Casey.
Okay.
Like, dude, did you just pitch me? Yes, Casey.
And it's only $1.
Fun. It's $1 a month, man. But yeah, I'm honestly like, without looking here. You really want to know? Hold on. Ask him a question, Scott, while I figure out what I answered.
Oh man. Oh.
I mean,
What?
yeah, I struggle with favorite. Well, like, what's favorite? Favorite meals are tough.
Yeah. Is there like a genre that you like working in, and one that you don't?
I mean, horror is so fun. It's fun to draw. Anything a little bit trippy and dark, and it's just fun, right? It's fun. It's like, I don't want to live in that world, but I do from an art standpoint.
Yeah.
Because I'm not like, in real life, not into the dark and horror stuff. It helps us, cope with those things. But it's just it's so much fun drawing monsters, and like drawing something like, let's say, the Hellboy world or Lovecraftian type of world or something would be fairly fun.
Do you sit there and like come up with your own monsters, just like creating something out of the blue?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's what I answered.
I've started sketching again a little bit like that, and just kind of just doodling whatever. I usually end up drawing like really weird looking people, a lot of like creepy old men and stuff.
But no, just to answer Casey, I gotta say My Little Pony, because the ponies will fix the issue without people dying. That was my answer. I feel like it's.
I was thinking of those cartoon worlds too. I was thinking like Adventure Time, maybe. I don't know. Is that too weird? Like, it's so weird in that world.
Adventure Time would be very disorienting. Like, look, I think Aqua Teen Hunger Force would be a fun one, because I think there you can die and then come back in a week later. So that would be interesting. But at the same time, I don't know if I want to die repetitively just to get brought back, because you still have to experience whatever terrible death happened to you. So, that's
like, if you've watched The Boys, say, like, imagine a world if superheroes were actually around and stuff. It'd be maybe a little bit terrifying that these people with incredible strength and abilities could snap and, obliterate the world, or you, or people you like.
Yeah, that is beyond terrifying, first case, especially if you just had. I mean, it depends on how it went, but if you introduce heroes to this world, it would, I hope if that happens, there's at least 100 or 200 or so that all get introduced at once, and it's not just like one dude that suddenly has the power of Superman. And if it is one dude that has the power of Superman, I really hope he has the mentality of the original Clark Kent, as he was like in Action Adventures #1, because you could go real dark with that level of power really quick. I always jump to the point, they're not even that, but like, let's say one of the three of us was suddenly gifted that level of power, right? You're suddenly Superman strong. You're going to unintentionally harm someone.
Yeah.
I agree with Batman having the fail-safe for the Justice League, for sure.
I don't agree with Batman on almost anything except that.
Everything else is wrong.
Look, man.
Sure.
Elon Musk could help a lot of people. Jeffrey Bezos could help a lot of people. Batman could help a lot of people, but he likes to beat up poor people instead.
I don't think he's just attacking poor people. I mean, he's going after criminals.
Yeah, but he could take all the money and fund it. This is why, and I don't look. There are some great Batman stories out there. I love some of Batman.
Philanthropic, isn't he? Isn't there a lot of like the Wayne Foundations and things? I thought he does a lot of stuff, doesn't he?
You don't think he could do more to fix Gotham at a fundamental level with all the money that he has? Honestly,
not if he wants to keep his bat plane in shape. I mean, he's got to spread it around a little bit.
There's the thing, and that's what makes him a sociopath. You know what I mean? Right? And that's why I'm saying fundamentally he is one of the worst superheroes. Because as opposed to actually fixing things with his money, he wants his Batplane. Just like, the billionaires on this planet don't want to actually try and help fix the planet. They want to go try and terraform Mars.
Do you find him kind of like ethically misguided or something?
Very, very much so. Yeah, very, very much so.
Right.
I think it's a fundamental. And again, look, if you made that the comic where he's just trying to fix everything the way he could with the amount of money he had, that's not a good comic. It's not. It's a great moral lesson if it could be taken by those that are within
That's interesting.
that, you know.
Yeah.
But
I feel like the movies tapped into that more than the books in a sense. Like even in the Nolan films, right? They were like, what happened to the funding for the orphanage? And you remember this? And they were like, oh, that funding kind of ran out, Oh, like he's kind of like, he's unaware. Like he's still rich, but he's unaware of what his wealth is doing, and his mind is elsewhere. His mind is going after criminals, and
his mind is, I need to go beat up the Joker and I'll get Joker proper mental health.
Right.
Or mental health care, I mean. You know what I mean? Like, it's more, I'm going to beat this dude up.
Asylum.
Yeah, I'm going to beat this dude up. And I'm going to... Huh?
He's dropping them off at Arkham Asylum, but Arkham needs some help. I think the Asylum needs some help to rehabilitate.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you're onto something. I think his money.
It's funny, and Jay and I have talked about this, how close Joker and Batman are personality wise, right? Like they're both psychotic. The only difference is Batman's not willing to kill. That's his drawing line, right? And it's really funny when you start to piece that. Like, I mean, well, Stephen and I were talking about it too, where since maybe the early 90s, all Batman does is beat people up.
And in a funny way, I think Joker's more self-aware.
Yeah.
He's aware of what he is.
That's terrifying, Casey. The fact that the villain in the show, in the comics, in the books, in everything, man, I can't think of a single incarnation of the Joker that I don't think was more self-aware of what he was doing, what he was causing, and what it did to the world around him than Batman is. I cannot think of a single incarnation of the Joker that wasn't, whether it's from the Joker film, the Dark Knight, the comics, like all of these characters, he is aware of what he's doing and what he's causing. But I think he also, I think there's always a part of that character, and I think it'd be very interesting to delve into, where I like, he doesn't like Batman, I think fundamentally because he understands Batman is as crazy as he is, but Batman does not understand that he is as crazy as he is, as the Joker is. You know what I mean? Like, it's lost on Bruce Wayne that his actions are not as heroic as he wants them to be, because he could do far more heroic actions just by funding proper things, just by funding Gotham properly, to where, villains couldn't escape. They got proper help, or mental health care. They didn't get treated like crap, which if you look at the U.S. prison system, you treat people like crap when you put them in it. They're going to be worse when they come out. That is what Batman is attributing to in every comic and anything I've ever seen him at. I've never seen a comic where he's like, oh, Enigma, man, I know you really like riddles and it's a really rough time. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to sit down. Like, look, he's the world's greatest detective. He can't figure out how to make the Riddler, like, calm down and use his riddles for something that aren't devastating. That's a terrible detective.
Yeah. I mean, you can't just throw money at everything. I guess like setting up certain preventative measures and then rehabilitative measures, I guess, would be good.
No, that's why I'm not even referring.
I don't know what they have him doing in the comics really that way. Like where his money goes, they don't really They're really sure. I had a friend. I can't remember what the total is, but it's kind of like a little bit of a segue. But he's an art philosophy professor, but he's also a big comic nerd. And he worked at the comic store in town before I did, but he's teaching down in the States now. But he wrote an essay that was kind of famous. It was like, you know, how much would it cost to be Batman, kind of thing, like, you know, to have all the stuff he has and do what he does. Like, he kind of figured out a dollar amount, but I can't remember what it was. It was crazy, but yeah.
I don't want to know that amount, and I've also realized I'm getting to the point where I don't want to edit this because it's running really long. No, it's been a pleasure, Casey. I do want to point out, but look, man,
we can do it again. I mean, if there's lots of questions there, whatever you want to know.
Man, it is the questionnaire, man. And like I said, y'all can go check out the rest of Casey's pre-show questionnaire over on the Patreon. You know, sign up for the 7-day free trial. See what's there if you like it. If you do, it's just $1 a month, man. We're gonna start putting out some of the extras from before and after the show. I'm really don't think I should put the extras from your first quest out first, Scott. I let a bit too much of the hip hop side of me out on some things, and we'll just leave it at that, right? But I do want to let you know, if you've enjoyed this interview, hold on, click that away. If you have enjoyed this interview, right, with Casey, what I want you to do, see, I didn't eliminate enough of these yet, is I want you to send him a Sasquatch, yeah? You know, go find you a Sasquatch. Send me a Sasquatch. Send him a Sasquatch, right? With some pesto pasta from Italy, a couple Snicker bars, right?
I guess.
And a stack of 140-pound Arches block paper, right?
That's the stuff.
That's really so to have a Sasquatch, just take all that to him, right? Now, if you didn't like Casey in this particular quest, man, if for some reason he just like made you mad, I don't know why it would have. It's been a pleasure, Casey. It really has,
I guess.
Right? What I want you to do is I want you to send him a vampire, all kinds of different shades of yellow, right? Smelling of stored cooking fat, right? Right? Because that just sounds terrible, you know? But if you ever see him at a con and you have enjoyed it, bring him a Lego set, man, because I dig them too. I respect that, Casey, right? For real.
Oh, man. I wouldn't get any work done. It'd be amazing.
Oh, dude, I've got a Lego problem, man. Like, let's see.
Love Lego.
I wish they cost more what they would back in the day. Yeah. Little Mando action.
I only got this guy at hand, the little Hulk Lego dude.
You would have a Hulk at hand, though, left, man, right? Besides that, I just want all y'all to do 3 things. Huh? Who's that?
Nice.
Michael Myers.
Oh.
You missed.
I don't think I've ever seen Michael Myers Lego.
Yeah. He sits on top of my PlayStation.
That you did not order that that is not an official Lego, man.
I don't think it is, no.
Yeah, no, Casey, it's not, right? For all y'all out there, besides that, I just want you to do 3 things, right? 1, give it that thumbs up, or, you know, whatever. Like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff, right? 2, get your comic on. 3, have a good night, y'all.
This has been the questionnaire.
Where's the link?
Thanks for checking out the questionnaire.
In the link below, yes?
I will drop it like it's hot.
That's another party.
It's cool, man. I love it.
The questionnaire. That is all.